Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, welcome everybody to the Northland DHB Employer Webinar. My name is John Wansbone, I'm one of the General Managers here, and it's my privilege to lead out the session whereby we're able to show you a little bit about what it means to live and play and work here in Northland DHB. I do have a panel of experts with me here today, and we'll be really keen to share our experiences, insights with you. Before we get underway, it'd be great for us to set the scene and start with the karakia. And please join with me if you know this one of my personal favourites. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kinikina, kia uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, kia hia, kia ana, te atukura, he tio, he hohu, ti he Māori ora. So I really hope everyone's healthy and safe out there, and you're all accustomed to having these sorts of meetings and presentations by Zoom. It's the way of life for us all at the moment. It'll be great one day if you have the chance to come join with us in Northland, and we'll be able to meet you in person. So before we go underway, I'd like just to start with some introductions, and I might hand over. And we've got a few around the room. We've also a couple in the room. We've also got a couple online as well. So if I just introduce Mercy.
Kia ora, my name's Mercy. I'm one of the medical registrars up in Whangarei. I've been here for about a year and a half. And yeah, I'm PGY for this year. But then we've also got Gina. She's on Zoom.
Kia ora, I'm Gina. I'm a PGY1 this year. I was a TI in Whangarei and stayed on complete my PGY1 year. We also have Megan at home with her little boy, Kahu.
Yeah, kia ora, I'm Megan. I'm also a PGY1 at Whangarei and also did my TI year here as well and stayed on. And this is Kahurangi, who not got any childcare.
Starting early. And we also got a couple on our team on our RMO unit. Molly and Alex.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm the RMO unit administrator.
Oh, Alex, cut out a little bit there.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Mike. Phone's playing up. Yeah, I'm Alex. Emma Carmen's given me a login to sit in for it. I'm very new to the team and here temporarily, but I'm here to help with this whole process. So this is webinar's more of a learning thing for me too.
Welcome along, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, look, our function and team are no different than the rest of the population. We've got a few people down at the moment with that nasty bug, but also, we've got a couple of gaps in our team at the moment. So if we're unable to answer every question today, please be assured we will be capturing that and we will come back to you with the right answer that you're asking for. So, Quentin, shall we put the slide deck up?
Sure.
John, can I just butt in? I haven't introduced myself.
Hi, Vic.
Thank you. I'm Vic Henderson. That's okay. I'm Vic Henderson. I'm one of the medical consultants, general physician and geriatrician. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Bridget. I'm a PGY2, currently working at the O&G department in Whangarei Hospital. I went to Otago University and did my clinical years in Christchurch and then came up to do PGY1 in Whangarei. I chose Whangarei for quite a few reasons. I'd heard really good things about the hospital from other PGY1s, and there's also so many great beaches, so many outdoor activities to do up here, and it's just seemed like a really great lifestyle. Working for the Northland DHB has been really well supported. I thoroughly enjoyed my PGY1 year, and all of the PGY1s I worked with stayed on for PGY2 as well. So that says something about the work environment. The training's really fantastic. The second year runs are really great. The O&G, PEDS, ED and surgical ENT ones are all really really fantastic learning opportunities, especially if you want to go into any of those areas. Otherwise, it's just a really, really great staff to work for.
Hi, I'm Henry. I'm one of the second year house officers here at Northland DHB. I'm currently one of the relief house officers, but I've just got back from Kaitaia doing a 3-month run in rural hospital medicine. I did my training at the University of Auckland and I did PGY1 here last year. So I chose to come to Northland for a couple of reasons. The people here are really solid, great people with a great attitude towards their health and to the world. And also there's lots of really great fishing in Northland, so you get a great lifestyle as well as meeting these great people. But what you really get out of this is a great sort of connection with the team that you're working with, a great connection with the people that you're working for, and ultimately a lot of quite profound satisfaction. And so that's what I get out of it.
Hi, my name's Emily Aitken. I'm a PGY2 up here at Northland DHB. I've been here since I was a trainee intern at the end of my final medical year. I've done a huge range of roles being here at Northland, but right now I'm the medical admission house officer and heading into 6 months of paediatrics at the end of the year. I graduated from the University of Auckland in 2017 and completed PGY1 up here at Northland DHB. I chose Northland DHB because I always knew that I wanted to start in a smaller, friendlier hospital that would give me a lot more hands-on experience and really help further my career. And I think Northland DHB just has an epitome of values that makes it a really positive and fantastic start when you're first getting out on your career. It's a real privilege, I think, to work up here at Northland DHB. As a doctor, in terms of our training and our rosters, we're really fortunate to have an incredibly supportive RMO unit that really do go above and beyond to make sure that you're cared for holistically and that give us rosters that are both safe and effective for our learning. I've really loved working with all of the consultants I've worked with so far, and again they try and strive to provide you with extra opportunity that you might not get at bigger hospitals and really get to know you on a personal level and what your goals are. We've got such a special catchment of people up here at Northland DHB from such a variety of walks of life. Not only is the medicine fantastic, but the people up here are just so heartwarming with their love of everything that you can do for them, and I don't think you get a nicer group of people to serve when you first start out working as a junior doctor.
So my name's Mikey and I'm a junior doctor working up in Kaitaia at the moment. I'm based in Whangarei. Kaitaia is pretty well known for just being a really good place to learn a lot of really interesting medicine and has a really interesting population, and everyone at the hospital is just incredibly lovely, and I've just never heard a bad thing about the hospital. I would 100% recommend moving to Kaitaia. It's got beautiful beaches, walks, fishing, diving, surfing, and all of the people are incredibly kind and generous, and you'd never regret moving here.
If you want to come and work in a place that's going to be really supportive for you and give you the most opportunities out of your PGY1 learning, both academically and procedurally, working with a fantastic group of people that will make you feel right at home and give you a great work-life balance with a supportive roster and RMO unit, I would highly recommend coming up to Northland DHB.
Lots of people, lots of working, lifestyle, big fish.
It's just been a really awesome experience.
Big fish. Big fish. Like this big.
Vic, sorry I didn't see you up on screen there. We've got all our faces blurred and we can't quite see everyone there. So thank you to all the panellists who've taken up and offered their time this afternoon to join us in this conversation. What I'm going to do is just spend probably 10 minutes or so just giving you a little bit of a background to our population, to our organisation, introduce you to our workforce, and then we'll start to drill down a little bit more into some of the more detailed conversations around, what is it about Northland DHB which will make the right decisions for you to come to us, and so I've got the panel there, and we'll create quite an interactive discussion and bounce around the room. So if we just move forward, Quentin, I'm not sure where I can see there's 30 odd people now. The numbers are growing. I can't see where everyone is from in the country, but I'm hoping that you are all knowledgeable about the fantastic place which is the far north, the French Riviera of New Zealand. But for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to come up here before, I just want to talk a little bit about our features. And what you can see on screen there is a geographic representation of Northland. And if you think about it from a driving distance, this is one of our biggest challenges. We're a very long and stringy province. And if you start from Tihana, which is just north of Wellsford, and you hopped in a car and you drove right up to the top to Takao, or not to the top, halfway up the peninsula to Takao, or even right up to the very top where we've got the North Cape and Cape Reinga, you're looking at about a 5-hour drive. So in terms of one of the first things you're going to learn about Northland is our rurality. And whilst we've got a large urban centre here in Whangarei, we've also got many smaller populations and smaller communities represented by a number of small towns, the likes of Kaitaia, Kirikiri, Kaikoui, Dargaville. As a organisation, Northland DHB, soon to be Health New Zealand on 1 July, we've got 4 key hospital bases, one base hospital, Whangarei base, and 3 district hospitals. We also have a special relationship with the Hokianga Trust, and they've got a facility which is in Rawene, a Rawene hospital, which has got 10 beds over there as well. We rely a lot on our neighbours, our specialists from Auckland, and they will come up and do clinics up here, as well as us, with our patients sending them to Auckland. So a little bit about our communities and population. We're just under 200,000. I think the numbers are steadily growing. As a province or district, we've seen unprecedented growth over the last 3 years. Of all the districts, we're the one that's growing the most. It probably reflects what you saw coming out of Auckland 5-10 years ago, when people were going to the likes of Waikato or Waikato, the Bay of Plenty. You're now starting to see a lot of either new migration into the country or people coming from Auckland and elsewhere and moving into the population. So significant population growth. And whilst that's great for business and great for our communities, it obviously puts massive pressure on our infrastructure, on our EDs, and there's a lot of strain. And in terms of that spread of that population, most of, or just under half, are represented in the urban area of Whangarei. And as I said before, we've got a number of smaller towns located throughout out the province. You're seeing a real growth in the south of Northland, which is called the Kaipara district. For those of you in Auckland, you know what I'm talking about. It's the Langs Beach and the Mangawhai region. And there's a big groundswell of internal migration to those locations. And a lot of the people that are migrating are actually that retired set. And so we are one of the, in terms of proportion of over 65s at 20%, we're significantly older than the rest of the country. Whilst I could also stand and talk about all the fantastic features that exist in Northland, we've also got some significant health challenges. Our rurality and high rates of deprivation. And what we see is that we've got some significant disproportionate higher rates of heart disease, diabetes, lung cancer, respiratory disease as well. Our population is, with tairawhiti, the highest in the country, in terms of Māori. So Māori represent 36% of our population. We have a much smaller Pacifica population compared to the rest of the country, though, as well. Just a little snapshot on, I can't quite actually see some of that detail in there, so that's unfortunate. But I guess the first point I'll say is that as a DHB, we're not small. We're actually a medium-sized DHB. We're about the 8th or 9th largest out of 20 DHBs in the country. We employ about 3,800 employees. That's represented as a full-time equivalent of 2,800. And the bottom graph is something I want to highlight to you, which is our commitment to growing our representation of Māori in our workforce. We see the critical need to ensure that our workforce matches our population, and with our population around 36%, we still have a lot of work to do. Our employed workforce is around about 18 or 19%. But if you can see on that screen there's a really great positive feature, which is the orange line, which represents the significant growth in our employed RMOs and their Māori heritage. That's fantastic. The top graph's a little bit blurry to see, but it represents the makeup of our different workforces. The large purple represents our nursing workforce. Our medical workforce, combining both our SMOs and RMOs, is about 12% of the organisation. 300 or 400 odd of those. We are, off the top of my head, about the third or fourth. So there's a measure that measures the number of SMOs and comparable to your population, prorated to your population, and we're about third or fourth and just behind the tertiary. So that shows, we've got a significant SMO workforce, which, provides fantastic features in terms of training and learning. Again, a little bit hard to see here, but we like lots of organisations, highlight to everyone what are the things that are most important to us, and we call those our values. These values guide our decision making, they guide the way, and they set the standards for the way that we interact with each other, the way we interact with our patients. And so they're very focused about the interrelationships that we have with people. So our values feature things like putting others first, putting people first, respect, caring, communication, and excellence. Ultimately, when we think about our values, what we ask of our staff is that, you treat others how you would like to be treated yourself. Look, it's not all about the fishing, though. It's not all about the beaching. There's so many great features of Northland, and what I've just put up on this slide here is just some of the current advertising that we've got, because what we're trying to say is that, yeah, you can grow a fantastic career in Northland, but there's so much other things that you can do. Yes, there are beaches, but we've got some fantastic arts. The first building, actually, I should point out, that's Chase. He was one of our Kawakawa students, one of our registrars at the moment on the far left-hand side. But in the background on the right-hand side, what you would be looking at now is one of the prides of Northland or Whangarei, which is the Huntavasa Art Centre, which is fantastic. But, we are incredibly proud of our rich cultural and historic significance here in Northland with Te Kaitiaki of Te Tiriti. And we've got, so many other opportunities for you. What I wouldn't mind at this point is just sort of looking at my panelists and just sort of saying, what is it about Northland that actually attracted you? Happy to take any contributions from the panel. Sorry, Megan.
We've got playground.
Yeah, we went to the playground. That's okay. So both myself and my partner Elliot are both PGY1s at Whangarei this year. So we chose coming up here for lots of reasons. One of the big ones being that we wanted somewhere that was going to be a supportive environment for when we had a young child, and this hospital has definitely been that. So Elliot's working a part-time role this year. He's working a job share, which is something that the DHB have facilitated, which makes a huge difference to us and our sort of like work-life balance. And then the other main thing for me definitely was being here as a TI. The support of the registrars and the consultants was different to anywhere else I'd been, particularly I'd been at the Auckland hospitals before, and it was so different here. There's very little sort of big ego that you sometimes get in the other hospitals. I can feel comfortable to ring registrars or bosses whenever you need help, and I think that's an incredible thing to have as a PGY1. So yeah.
That's awesome, Megan. Thank you so much. Gina.
I feel like the people in the video covered a lot of it, really. Northland is a beautiful part of New Zealand. I'm from Otautahi, Christchurch, and I came through Auckland, and I came up to Whangarei for a TI year the goal at the time was just to be for TI year. And when I came up last year, I just absolutely loved it, and I couldn't think about moving back to Auckland. Just mirroring what Megan said, the seniors that you have in Northland are incredible. They give you so much time and always willing to teach, always willing to answer your phone calls if you've got any questions. And I think that the culture in the hospital is nothing like I've had in any of my other time as a medical student. Outside of the hospital, Whangarei is great. There's beautiful beaches, amazing walks and hikes, and you're kind of at the doorstep of, yeah, as I said, some of the most beautiful parts of the country. Yeah, I've absolutely loved it so far.
Thank you. You spoke about culture of the organisation. What are some of the features of the service that you work for and the teams that you work with that you find to be incredibly positive?
So I think putting the patient at the centre of the care, and also asking what they would like and being guided by them, is something that I've really noticed. And I think, yeah, just the ability, the seniors being happy and willing, it's not, being willing to teach and to involve you, I think is awesome. And then, they're always wanting you to join in. So I've just done 3 months of general surgery, and we've had heaps of opportunities to do, like aspirations of abscesses or whatever on the ward. I got to help with a chest drain the other day. Like, there's just things that you can jump in on and be part of, whereas in a bigger hospital, you don't have those options as easily. You're a bit more of an admin person. I don't mean to. Yeah.
Victoria, I'd love to hear your perspectives as an SMO.
So I've been here, about 16 months now. I've worked in this hospital, moved here from Scotland. I think one of the really important things for junior doctors when you're thinking about where you want to start is you want to be a bit like Goldilocks. So you don't want a bed that's too hard and a bed that's too soft. And when it comes to a hospital, you don't want a hospital that's too big or a hospital that's too small. And Whangarei is absolutely perfect because it is that medium-sized hospital. You've got enough specialties. You've got your renal, your cardiology, your surgical teams, but it's small enough that it really does remain personal and friendly, and people know each other, and it's easy for me to pick up the phone and speak to colleagues and actually have proper conversations. So you're not getting so big that you can be a bit rude and impersonal. And I think that's absolutely key, one of the key things for picking the hospital that will really support your training. As an SMO, supporting training for our juniors is just one of the key things. It's very much part of what we're focused on. So yes, we do, we'll do training sessions, but I think on the ward and working so closely with us is a real key thing. So the kind of things I try and work on, yes, it's procedural skills, but it's as much about communication skills and those difficult things like difficult conversations, dealing with unrealistic expectations. That's really hard to learn in university, and you just need to do that with us and see what works for you and what doesn't, and have the right support. So I'm really pleased, as Gina said there, we are available. We will spend a lot of time with you, but also we're very happy just to have texts or phone calls and things if you're just needing to run stuff past us. So I think that's very much part of our role. And in terms of Northland, when you get out of the hospital, you keep hearing all this stuff about fantastic beaches. I'm a sea kayaker, and I think this is some of the best sea kayaking in the world up here as well. So really, you've got to have some sort of outside interest, I think, to keep yourself sane as a doctor. And it doesn't really matter what it is, because up here you've got so many options for getting out, getting fresh air, getting sunshine on your face. It's a pretty special place.
It is indeed. Thanks, Vic. Lucy?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think one of the best things about Whangarei is the size of it. I came from a smaller hospital originally, and here there are enough subspecialties that there's lots of interesting and specialised things going on. Everything isn't just leaving the hospital to go to a bigger centre as soon as it's interesting. but you also know everyone. So from like a registrar perspective, I've got like really good friends in the gen surge department and in ENT and in orthopedics, and we know all of the house officers. Quite a few of them have come from being TIs, which is awesome because we know them as well, like from previously, and then other house officers that haven't done any student years as well. And everyone rotates around enough that you get to kind of know everyone really well, and it's a really friendly environment. I think it makes such a difference if you're like calling to refer to like a gen surge reg, if you've met them and had lunch with them, or like I'm a really keen open water swimmer, if you saw them up at the swim between Kaiha and Russell and did that swim with them, and then you can call them up at work, and it just makes such a difference. So like I agree with Vic, sometimes when everyone's a bit anonymous and a bit stressed out, people will be really short with you, and like that's actually never happened to me in this hospital, which is so nice.
And hopefully you all heard in the budget announcement last week that Northland has finally been formally confirmed as the next new hospital on the way. So, you know, we're seeing some, you know, if you're here for the long term, we're going to have a brand new hospital in about 5 or 6 years, touch wood.
Kia ora, just for later on, I'd just like to know how many paired applications your hospital takes each year, and how many Otago graduates do you accept as well?
So the answer to the first one is 20. The answer to the second one, I'm not sure. So we'll need to.
For paired applications, you take 20?
Sorry, you might know the bit.
I don't know what the answer is from Whangarei Hospital, but paired applications, like when a couple pairs their applications.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think, like from my experience, well, I know Elliot and Megan, for example, but like Whangarei Hospital is quite big on people staying here for the long term, and the house officer to reg transition is really set up to stay here for like a longer period of time. I think often hospitals view paired applications as more likely to stay here in the long term compared to if you've got a partner elsewhere, you're maybe more likely to only be here for a short period of time. But it's definitely set up to do house officers. There's a second year house officer admitting role, which really works well if you're thinking about trying out med-regging, because it's a very similar kind of set up of job. And same with the ENT senior house officer position is really set up to do ENT registrar or general surgical registrar after that. Do you guys, Gina and or Megan, you applied as a paired application, hey?
Yeah, we did. I'm not sure how it worked in detail, but yeah, we did, and I think a couple of others, Rachel and Fabio, did as well. So I know there's at least a couple of couples in our year. Yeah.
We, me and my partner applied separately to registrar jobs, but it was definitely considered like a bonus that so I got a job here first, and then it was a lot, they were kind of like really looking to get my partner a job here at the same time. So I definitely think it's a positive rather than a negative.
What are the key things you want to see in an applicant? So in other words, John, and for your team, what generally is the selection criteria for Northland, and what would help make a strong application?
Yeah, so hopefully reasonably straightforward. You know, we want to know why you're choosing specifically Northland DHB, and what do you see the benefits of training away from a large centre. You know, we talked about the benefits of being a medium size, the Goldilocks, I like that. But one of the big things we want to hear from you is around, you know, Northland regarding our significant inequities in health outcomes and health access for Māori. So if you were responsible for being able to make changes to the health system, you know, what would you do? And then the last question is, you know, how will you make, what would be your personal contribution to that, and contribution to healthcare in Northland? So I will make the point, those last two obviously are going to have some significant weighting for us.
Gina, did you have something to say before about the paired applications or the Otago-Auckland split?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that we have quite a few Otago grads this year as PGY1s. So I don't think it should deter you at all if you are an Otago grad.
Are you holding interviews as part of your selection this year, John?
Yeah, we will. So if you can make contact at the top of the slide deck there, you can see the contact number and email address for our RMO unit. So that's the initial preliminary interview, and they will talk you through those next steps with regards a formal interview.
Ideally, what date will the students need to organise an interview? Applications close on July the 8th, and there are assessments a week after. So is there an ideal time that they should get a request for an interview done?
Yeah, sorry, I was told today that we won't be holding interviews this year. So what's happening is, if people can still email us at the RMO unit address and ask us any questions that they need to ask, then we're happy to find them the answers. Or if they just want to call and have a chat, then that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I was told today we're not holding actual interviews.
Yeah, I think the term interview is probably used interchangeably there. I think in this case, it is a chat. It's having a chance to respond, a little bit more deeper conversation with you. So call it a chat, call it an interview, give us a call, give us an email, and we'll answer any more questions that you'll have.
So would you guys be offering interviews to ACE candidates once they've completed the application that you are thinking about hiring, or would you want them to initiate organising a chat with you guys?
If they can contact us in the first instance. Again, I must apologise. I have oversight for the unit, but I'm not across all of the detail, and so it's a bit of a last minute bringing together a few people together. So I haven't got all the answers for you today, so apologies for that.
What is the RMO teaching roster like, and what opportunities for training are there?
Gina probably knows the most about the structured house officer teaching, but I can talk a little bit about the training after that if you want, Gina.
Cool. We have twice weekly hourly teaching, Tuesday and Thursdays from 12:30 to 1:30.
And you mostly get there, hey? I know when I was on a team, we used to hold the house officer's phone for an hour while they went to teaching.
Yeah, they're really good at doing that. Yeah. Sometimes, depending on the day, like if you're a really busy post-tape day, you might get there a little bit late, but you're allowed to eat lunch during teaching, and so yeah.
And I think you guys get a range of registrars and SMOs doing your teaching, eh?
Yeah, like today we had 2 anaesthetic registrars teaching us how to do ultrasounded guided IV lines, which was awesome. Yeah.
And then in terms of training, depends obviously what you want to do, and I obviously know significantly more about the medical side of things, but I have a bunch of friends who are doing different training programs in the hospital at the moment. So in terms of starting basic medical training, Whangarei is a great place to do it. It's got as I said, the medical admitting house officer job and the assessment unit house officer job are really set up to kind of move away from that ward work type house officering, which we all started off doing, really into assessing acutely unwell patients and admitting them, and you work with the on-call medical registrar in that job, which quite a few of the current medical registrars have done that job before they've done med-regging, and you can sign up for basic medical training from your second year, and all of those runs count towards your time in basic training, which is awesome. And the bosses here are super supportive, and then once you become a registrar, there are a bunch of different subspecialties you can do in medicine. So there's cardiology, renal, acute care of the elderly, oncology, haematology, and some more, stroke. And in terms of house officer jobs, there's rehab, there's general medicine, and then there's renal, rehab, acute care of the elderly. What are the other medical subspecialty jobs? That might be it. And there's the admitting ones. And then particularly in PGY2, there's a real jumpstart into the training. So the O&G house officer job here is pretty full on, but it's really good if you're really keen on O&G. They don't have any registrars, so it's you and the SMO working really closely together, which is an awesome opportunity for learning. And the paediatrics house officer job is similar, so you can do it in PGY2 for 6 months. They really encourage you to do the diploma in peds, and you work really closely with the SMOs as well. You do a range of SCBU and deliveries, and then quite a lot of after hours admitting kind of shifts. And then the ENT house officer job is also a PGY2 job. also really good. You share the on-calls with the registrars and work really closely with the SMOs in theatre and clinic, and they do a whole lot of outreach clinics in Kaitaia and stuff. Get to fly up to Kaitaia for the day and then back down again. And yeah, if there's any other specific training questions about specific areas, I can try and answer those as well. There's an entry-level psych reg job in PGY3, I think.
Is ophthalmology offered as a PGY1? Sorry, as a PGY2 run?
PGY2 job. The only person I know who's done it recently is a PGY3, but I think you can do it as a PGY2.
Yes, you can.
It's pretty hands-on. You get to do lots of injecting of eyes, if that's the kind of thing you're into. And the SMOs are really great. There was one of the last house officers has gotten onto the ophthalmology training program, I think, and has moved down to Dunedin, and all the, like, if you're into it, the SMOs are super supportive and keen to help you out with training and that kind of thing. Do you know more about that, Gina? I think is it a 3-month run or a 6-month run?
It's a 6-month. You can do it in PGY2 as well, yeah. 6-month run.
It's pretty cool, because I think a lot of the bottleneck with opthal training is actually getting like a non-training job so that you've got some experience and some contacts, which is awesome up here.
Cool. How many weekends and long days are rostered on average per quarter? Does
Gina will know that much better than I do. I don't know the answer to
that. So we do 1 long day a week, and 1 weekend per month. But we're actually currently in the process of changing our roster, and we're hoping to actually get rid of our long days. So there could be a chance that if you're starting in 2023, there will be no long days, which is quite nice.
Ward 1,
sorry about
room 12B.
Medical.
Ward 1, room 12B.
And they have a similar, for the PGY2 jobs, a similar thing where they do swing shifts rather than long days. So for PEDS and O&G, there are no long days, they just do swing shifts, I think.
I think that might just be PEDS, Mercy.
Maybe just PEDS.
Yeah.
Or do they do 12 hours for O&G? Or is that just weekend? I'm not sure. Yeah, and the roster's maybe changing from January.
Yeah, no nights for the first 6 months, regardless if you do Gen Med in your first quarter, you don't do any nights for the first 6 months.
Is it possible to do a community run in PGY1?
No, they're all hospital based in PGY1, but in PGY2 you do a 3-month community run that can be either the Kaitaia placement, palliative care placement, or in GP.
We've got vineyards around the corner. We've got fantastic restaurants. Our town basin's better than the Auckland Viaduct. We've got the Women's Rugby World Cup coming up shortly. There is some fantastic things happening in Northland. So we will be ecstatic if you consider us.
And I think I should say in normal times as well, we're a pretty sociable bunch. I do a very good cocktail party.
Yeah, it genuinely is a fantastic place to live. I intended to only move up here for a year, and I've stayed on, even though it's not. Like it's such a great area, and it's really growing. I think with COVID and everything, people, like non-medical people, realised, that they can work more remotely and they don't need to live so much in big centres, and there's definitely more in terms of like dining and that kind of stuff popping up all the time. And it's such a beautiful area. Like, you get to drive 1 hour up north to be in the Bay of Islands for the weekend, and it's so gorgeous. And yeah, great food, great vineyards.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. Ngā mihi nui ki pai te rā. I hope you have a really good evening, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, John. Thanks, team. Have a good day.